I am Bernard Chiguari from True Legal Media, an online magazine. Madam, South Africa is celebrating 20 years of democracy. If we are to take a look at the society, especially youth and women, are they motivated or inspired? True Legal Media comes in through interviewing women and youth who have walked to greater heights in their career path. Director, can you introduce yourself to our readers?
My name is Vani Mudli, and I'm the director of the University of Cape Town's Law Clinic.
Thank you so much. Before joining the UCT Legal Clinic as a director, what else were you doing?
Well, my career is a bit of a checkered path. I started off as a teacher, left teaching, stayed at home for a bit with my kids, did voluntary teaching in the meantime, then went back to university, did a law degree, came to UCT and came to the law clinic and did my articles, then did a stint in refugee law with the Refugee Rights Project for about 5 years, 6 years, and loved refugee law, did a master's in law and came back to UCT's law clinic.
Thank you so much. Director, can you take us through briefly how you managed to climb the ladders up to director level?
Well, hard work, and before you apply for any job or want to do any job, you must have had a background in it. You must have the professional qualification, you must have the training. So it was a lot about studying, doing the work, having the experience. But I also think in democratic South Africa, my path was made easier. Had that been 20 years ago, I think there would have been more constraints placed on me. So I think my path was a little easier. And I think women have it a little easier these days, because there are positions earmarked for women. When I taught many, many years ago, men and women were not paid the same salary, and only as I was leaving the teaching profession were they placed on parity.
Thank you so much. Besides being a director, what alternatively could you be doing?
I could be working in any legal sector. I could be in the corporate field. I could be teaching.
Okay. Challenges you face as a female director in the law field?
At the moment, I think my gender has nothing to do with it. There are no issues around that. But just being at a law clinic, and any law clinic, there are enormous challenges, and the challenge is one, funding, and you're meant to basically provide clinical legal education to students, and the outside world, the networks outside see you as providing access to justice. So they don't get the full picture that there are twin goals: clinical legal education and access to justice. So the university sees you largely as providing students with excellent training for when they go out and take on the legal profession outside, and then the networks, the courts see you as providing this free service, and funding is limited. So literally, those are the challenges that we have to deal with.
Thank you. Democracy in the country paved the way for some considerable gains. What is your view regarding the rights of women and children in South Africa?
Women, wherever you are, will face challenges. That's what I think, just because society is the way it is. Rape is a reality. Abuse is a reality. Young girls are at risk. But in this country, we have legislation in place that protects women at every level. We have courts that are open, and so in democratic South Africa there are enormous gains for children. You know, the courts are the upper guardian of all children, so children are protected. But that doesn't protect against what's happening in society. And for some reason, there's just enormous stresses. We have a mass unemployment. And the consequences of that, I think women and children become the victims of that. And
okay, thank you. What is your definition of success, and have you achieved success?
my definition of success is actually it's achieving your goals, you know, the goals that you set out. So I can say I've achieved some measure of success because I've set myself some targets and some goals, and I think, you know, I've achieved them. But in large, it's work in progress, I think. You know, you constantly change the goalposts. You're constantly setting new goals all the time. So I've achieved some, but there's still work to be done.
Thank you. What do you do in your leisure time?
Well, I like to spend time with my family. I love reading, movies, the theatre. And I love getting out of the office and being in nature. So that's another thing I love to do.
Okay. In your opinion, what should the government do to tap more women into law fields?
You know, the government is doing what it can. That's really what I believe. Because I know lots of positions that are open. Often women get them because they say we need a woman in this position. So that's not a problem, but I think in the legal profession at the bar, I think there are fewer and fewer women. And I think that's a largely male-dominated sphere. And that's the area where government actually needs to make provision for women, and actively so.
Okay. How do you balance your legal practices and religious beliefs?
You know, I'm not necessarily a very religious person. So my legal practice is governed by my own set of ethics that I follow. And I think largely, if you look at most religious practices and sort of the moral code set by most religious practices, then my ethics are very close to that. But if you're looking at religion, and I mean, most religions take a very patriarchal view of society, and that's because, you know, of its historical context. So I understand that. So there's no discord for me between religious beliefs and my legal practice. You know, I understand where both come from.
Okay. What were your dreams at childhood?
I grew up in apartheid South Africa, and so a lot of my dreams were inspired by the social inequalities and the injustice in society. And I thought, you know, when I grow up, you know, I want to be fighting the good fight, you know, fighting all the oppression in society and the injustice. So I was fueled largely by that.
Okay. Can you name a person who has had a tremendous impact on your career path, and how did he or she inspire you?
To be honest, there wasn't any person that had this tremendous influence on my career path that I, you know, followed their path and said, this is the way I'm going to be. There are generally people who inspired along the way. Like the words of Martin Luther King always ring in my head. The fact that Mandela had sacrificed so much, in a way, motivated me, and it was
Okay.
It was something that I almost aspired to be, his values, what he stood for.
Thank you. Which is most important to you, mission, core values, or profit?
I'm not quite sure that I totally understand what you mean by mission, but I don't have a mission, so to speak. But I believe my core values direct me. I don't necessarily follow a profit. I don't have a mission, that governs my life, but I think I am bound by certain core values.
Thank you. What is your advice to a young South African who is at crossroads regarding choice of a career path?
That's the hard one. I'd firstly say go and speak to the experts in both fields, if you're at a crossroads. And secondly, do what makes you happiest. You need to tap into your feelings and into an understanding of yourself. And if you almost understand yourself, you'll know what you really want to do.
Thank you. Now our last and final question is, are you married, and how do you balance your family activities and work?
I am married, so there was a time in my life where I stayed at home when my children were quite young. I did study when my son was 2 years old, and then for a period of time I remained at home, and then when my children were about 9 and 10, I went back. So I was able to do that, and I had the opportunity to do that, which is not what every working woman has. I also had a husband who was available during the day, so we shared the duties. And in having a supportive family, you can do that. So that's how I actually balanced it by
Thank you so much.
By sharing the responsibility of the marriage.
Okay, thank you so much. That's the end of our interview, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.